Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and after what was undoubtedly a dramatic weekend in the Scottish Premiership, Celtic are left licking their wounds as they miss a huge opportunity to go top of the table once more. But we need to move on, we need to focus on the next game, and we need to make things right. There's a lot of factors that contributed to our loss yesterday at Tynecastle, but really, we only have ourselves to blame. But we're going to talk about everything, the drama that's gone on afterwards, the manager's comments and more. So stick around because we've got a lot to talk about. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We're trying to get as close as we can to 50,000 subscribers this year. So if you guys could go down below, hit those buttons if you haven't already. It's absolutely free. I would appreciate it loads. So then, we know what happened yesterday. Hearts 2, Celtic 0. It wasn't the result we were hoping for, following on from Rangers' loss to Motherwell on Saturday, which means not much has changed in the overall landscape of the Scottish Premiership. This is the league table as it stands. As you see, Rangers still 2 points clear of Celtic in first place, but the most important thing that's changing there is the fact that matches played. We are getting closer and closer to the end of the season. Things are going to get tighter, things are going to get more desperate, and I'm sure from now until the end, considering how both teams played over the weekend, there's probably going to be drop points for either side. So we missed an opportunity this weekend. We've got to win the next game. We've got to win the game after that. We've got to win every game from here to the end of the season, and we've got to hope Rangers slip up once more. But we've obviously got those two very important fixtures against Rangers, one at Ibrox, one at Celtic Park, that will come up and probably be pivotal to determining where this trophy ends up at the end of the season. But huge missed result, missed chance yesterday with that result. One that will sting for a little bit. We don't have another league game for a couple of weeks now. It's the Cup this weekend. But we can't lick our wounds. We've got to move on. We've got to focus for the next game. But yesterday, a lot kicking off after that match. Brendan Rodgers didn't hold back in his post-match comments yesterday. He took no prisoners when it came to criticising the refereeing and the VAR decisions that took place on the field at Tynecastle. Let's very quickly go over them and then we'll go into his comments. Of course, 3 big decisions that really changed the course of that game, and a couple of them coming really early on as well. I spoke about this in my match reaction in more depth yesterday and how frustrating they were. And I'm not one that likes to use the referees as the blame and use that as the point where you say that's why Celtic dropped points. At the end of the day, Celtic weren't good enough yesterday. It was always going to be difficult with 10 men in the park. As soon as Yang was sent off, I just knew we probably weren't going to win that game. We weren't good enough though. We didn't treat the game as if it was a must-win. We looked so passive, so pedestrian in that second half when really we should have treated it like a cup final. You know, it was a must-win game. It was a huge opportunity to go top of the league and kind of have that psychological advantage over Rangers, but we didn't take that. So we only have ourselves to blame. But those 3 big decisions that the referee and VAR got wrong yesterday will, you know, that could be something that they'll come back at the end of the season and we'll look at saying, it could be what won or lost us a title. And more specifically lost us a title because there were 3 major decisions that they got wrong. And Brendan Rodgers is more than entitled to come out and criticise it. If it happened to any team, I wouldn't blame any manager for coming out and criticising it. The first one, of course, the penalty that Celtic were given. Poor decision. Probably wasn't a penalty to Celtic. It was very light. I understand in the modern context of football that has been given a million times. I still don't think it's a penalty. We were lucky. We missed that penalty, of course. So justice was served to Hearts, you could say. Then the second decision comes around and Yang is sent off. For me, and I've seen that this one has split opinion. For me, not a red card. I think you've got to, you know, you can put the image still all you like and you can talk about it being a high foot, but at the end of the day, Yang is more than entitled to go for that ball, and the Hearts boy comes running into his foot. I don't even think there's full contact on it. I'll have to look it back. I forgot now. But it's not a red card for me. I think it was soft. It'd be different if there was malice, there was intent, and he didn't try to play the ball, and then he went straight for the head of the Hearts player. No, that's not what happened, so don't be mistaken. And then the third one, Hearts' penalty. That's not a penalty in a month for Sundays. I don't understand how that's been given. The handball rule has been so obscure to the point where I don't even think referees understand what the handball rule is, and there needs to be a total kind of that needs redone completely. They need courses or something to tell these referees what the hand rule ball actually is, rather than them picking and choosing as the weeks go on. So 3 huge decisions which played a factor in yesterday's game. One that wasn't even, one that you could say was beneficial to Celtic, with us being awarded a penalty. But these are 3 huge decisions, and the referees continuously get these wrong week in, week out, and it's becoming a real problem. Brendan Rodgers didn't hold back. Here is some of his comments on the refereeing in yesterday's game. He said that it's absolutely shocking that Hearts were awarded a penalty for Iwata's handball. I never like to comment on officials, but that cost us today. The officiating from on-field to John Beaton being on VAR was really poor. I look at the first incident, the red card, and if you put a still on that, it looks dangerous, but that's not the reality of the move. There's no force there. The ball's popped up. It's a booking. That's really disappointing to go down to 10 men for that. To receive a penalty against us, wow, that was even worse. If you watch the incident again, Timoki's jumped. He's on his way down and he's not looking as he's been nudged a little bit, which then pushes his arm out. If that's a penalty, then you will have penalties in every single game, every single week. It's an absolutely shocking decision, and I really feel disappointed for our players and our supporters. So that was a couple of his comments. There's far more than that. You can read the full interview on Sky Sports' website. It was his post-match interview with Sky, where he was scathing in his reaction of the referees yesterday. He also commented in the papers as well, credit to Celtic Way here, of what he said to Don Robertson after the game yesterday. He said, I spoke to him in the tunnel just briefly, but it's a waste of time if I'm honest. There is no change, and I also think as well that VAR is not the problem here. That's clear. It's incompetence. I think the first one is a great example of the game being refereed outside the pitch. This is the thing everyone is talking about, that the officials do their job, and if it's something that's clear and obvious, maybe step in. The referee made the decision and someone outside made another decision to say it was a sending off. So the game being refereed outside of the field in a big games, that's what cost you. So not happy at all. He's name dropped John Beaton in a couple of his interviews as well. So really not happy. I'll be interested to see what the reaction to this is. If Brendan Rodgers will be, given any sort of suspension or anything like that, because you know how these things can pan out. But I think he's quite right in what he's saying. Now the only thing I will say in regards to that is the team didn't do their best in the park to come back from it yesterday. And I know we had it kind of put against us with that penalty and being down to 10 men. It's a difficult situation to come back from, but we didn't play well enough, and Brendan Rodgers' instructions to the side didn't look as though they were, good enough to go and come back in that game. But he's rightly annoyed, and I think that, this has got to be the story from now to the end of the season. Will be the battle between managers and referees, not just on the side with Celtic, but with Rangers as well, because we're going to see poor decisions week in, week out. I think more importantly, the character of some questions has to be questioned after yesterday's performance, some of them showing that they're maybe not up to the standard you would expect of a team that are in a title challenge. Some people just so far away from it, and I used the term shite bags yesterday. There's a few that look like that in the team at the minute. We can't play like that in these situations from now to the end of the season, especially when you think of these derby games. And what's so annoying is the fact that we've watched 2 derby games this season, which is as big as it gets in the Scottish Premiership. It's the most important game, and we've been really good. We've showed grit, we've showed determination, we've showed character, and that's went across all the players in the park. Some individuals just down tools when it comes to other games, and I really don't understand it. And I understand that yesterday was a tall task. 10 men at Tynecastle, a tricky venue to be at. I'm not asking them to put out the world's best performance, but I expected a bit more fight in the side. But ho-hum, we move. Livingston in the cup next. Can't slip up there. Also in the news last night, we had an update on the future of Liel Abada as his exit from Celtic looks imminent. He looks as though he's off to the States. We have spoke about it already on the channel, how there was a few sides interested in Liel Abada over in the MLS. However, these were the headlines last night. Liel Abada on the verge of Celtic exit as £11 million Charlotte FC outlay comes with 2 caveats. Charlotte FC could pay up to £11 million in total, but £3 million of that is conditional, and 20% of the sell-on will go to his former club. The article goes on to say that Celtic are on the verge of agreeing an £8 million sale of Liel Abada to Charlotte FC. The deal could see the Hoops claim another £3 million in future add-ons. The MLS outfit are also ready to hand Abada a designated player spot in a 4-year contract to seal the deal. The 22-year-old is now waiting for the two clubs to finalise the deal and to get permission to travel for his medical. I must say, I am surprised about the deal that has been put on the table. Now, yes, 20% of the sell-on will end up going to Maccabi Petah Tikva in Israel, should he move on, I think, from Charlotte FC. But the fact that Celtic are getting up to £11 million for a player who has barely kicked a ball this season, when he has kicked a ball, really hasn't been that good, has been injured, and has been questioned an awful lot throughout his Celtic career, is quite impressive, I must say. I will admit, though, this is a player who, you can dig this up, this is why I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've not said we deserve more from him in the past. There was times in my time on YouTube and in Liel Abada's Celtic career where I really expected him to be someone who could be worth a hell of a lot of money if he played to the best of his abilities week in, week out. He was somebody who I could have seen Celtic getting £20 million for. And it's probably why I'm surprised that we're only getting 11, because he's not been that best ability. You know, he hasn't done that week in, week out. He's one of the most inconsistent players we probably have at Celtic. And I've seen over the past few years, because when he's good, he's brilliant. But when he's bad, he stinks the gaff out. So I understand why we're probably not ever going to see a fee as large as something like £20 million, but this is a move that had to happen. The situation that Abada currently finds himself in meant that he had to move on from Celtic. There was no denying that. And we're all trying to pull in the same direction, and I don't think that Liel Abada is there to pull in the same direction, to be quite honest. This move had to happen. Listen, it's all out with our control. It's a bigger than life situation. So, I mean, I've already said my piece on the Liel Abada situation a number of times in this channel. I'm personally happy to see him move on, because I think it's just the best for both parties. I think it's best for him. I think it's best for us. That's politics aside. I think you've just got to cut your losses at some point, and that's exactly what Celtic are doing. So it's a good deal for the club. It's money brought in. Will it be reinvested in the side? I don't think so. Going off the track record, I don't think so, but he could be off very, very soon. We'll talk about it when we get more details. Pardon me, took too deep a breath there, I had to stop. When we get more details, we'll cover it, but it looks as though he'll be off to the MLS very, very soon. And that's it. That'll do for today's video. If you've enjoyed, make sure that like and subscribe. Let me know your comments and your thoughts in that comment section below. Much appreciated. Yeah, a disappointing weekend, but it is what it is. We need to move on and just keep looking forward to the next game and try our best. Title's not won or lost yet. See you next time.